YouTube, what is up? Today I would like to just have a brief chat about my first wearing of my scent of the day, Montale's Black Aoud. There is my little, I don't know if you can see that. That's my little decant, 5ml. I ordered this because I'd never sampled it before. First wearing, I'm going to talk about that today, and based on today's wearing, it looks like when this is done, there'll be more bought, possibly a full bottle. So just a little bit about Black Aoud. It is apparently one of Montale's flagship fragrances, released in 2006. It's got prominent notes of rose, oud wood. There is also patchouli listed, labdanum, and I think there's mandarin listed there as a note as well, from either base notes or fragrantica. Okay, so first of all, what I want to mention is that the beauty about getting interested in fragrances is that it's a little bit like expanding your palate from a flavor and food point of view. I remember years ago, in my 20s, when I used to work in restaurants, I had a very limited palate in terms of the food I ate back then, and working in restaurants, although I was kind of forced because of my job, it made me taste a lot of different foods, and you know, I was already an adult, and over the years and from that experience, I've come to love so many different types of food that I never ate as a young person. Now, with fragrances, it's not too dissimilar. You get into the hobby because there's probably one or two fragrances you really like to wear, and then you start to read about more fragrances and you think, oh, I wonder if I'd like that. You start to try stuff that you would normally walk by in department stores. Then you read about exotic things like oud wood, and things like that, and you wonder what they smell like, and then you realize that a lot of people are raving on it on fragrance forums and YouTube videos, and you go, well, why not? And you sample it, and then then you come across things like this particular fragrance, where one of the dominant notes in this fragrance is rose. Now, 6 months ago, when I started this hobby, if you told me I'd be wearing rose fragrances, I just simply wouldn't have believed you, because to me, rose was really old ladies, my grandmother. I could not fathom, smelling like roses, but of course there is roses and there are roses, and I've got to tell you that the rose and oud combination, when done right, is like lamb and mint, lamb and rosemary, pork and apple, beef and gravy, chicken, roast potatoes. I'm exaggerating now, but black oud, oud wood, rose. I'm just going to spray a bit on my arm now, just to refresh myself. So the first thing you pick up is the oud. Now, my only other reference oud in my collection is Tom Ford Private Blend Oud Wood. So I haven't smelt real agar oil, so I'm assuming that the oud I'm smelling here is a synthetic oud, much like Tom Ford's. Now that's the opening, and the best way I can describe it is it's a bright, almost citrusy oud, and I think this is where the mandarin or some kind of citrus is blended with the oud here to open, and it's really pleasant. I don't get any. It's probably a tiny bit of that medicinal vibe that people talk about, but it's not unpleasant. And I tell you what, when I opened the cap, I could smell that before I sprayed it. Very quickly, a rose comes in. Now, the way this rose is blended with this oud, it's such a smooth, soothing scent. Now, I'm not sure whether Montale's black oud is associated with anyone describing it as smooth and soothing, because from everything I'd read and based on my wearing today, this is pretty much a powerhouse, but I guess definitely not in the sense of the 80s powerhouse fragrances. So oud, rose, and then it just sort of develops, and the rose takes over, and this thing lasted me 3 sprays this morning, 2 behind the ear, 1 on the chest, and I could smell it pretty much just on 12 hours for the day. It was a cooler day here in Melbourne today. It is February, it's deep into summer, but it was nice and cool, and I took my opportunity to give this a go. I wore it to work. No one commented. I had read and heard stuff that this could be too strong to wear to the workplace. Should be saved for more formal events. I tend to agree. It's definitely not an everyday scent, but what I really want to emphasize here is that if you're new to exploring fragrances, do not dismiss a fragrance if you see a note there that you think you won't like. Now, I have this, and I also have a small sample of Tom Ford's Noir de Noir, which also has a prominent rose note in it. They're the 2 ones, and I have smelt that. I haven't actually worn it, for wearing, but what I have smelled of that is absolutely gorgeous. And one of my top 5 fragrances, which is Chanel Egoist, has a rose note in there. It's not a foreground note in terms of that fragrance, but it definitely is an essential part of that fragrance. So my message to people who are getting into fragrances is please don't dismiss a fragrance if you see a listed note that you think you won't like. There's quite a few fragrances in my collection that have the note of geranium in it. Now, geranium as a single note, I find disgusting. I just hate. I don't know. I smelled lots of geraniums in my neighbourhood as I was growing up, and I just never ever liked the smell. Yet it pops up in a lot of fragrances that I really like and love. But again, I use the cooking analogy. There might be single ingredients used in dishes that you love that you would hate to have on their own, but this is, perfumes use a recipe just like a beautiful dish, and the end result is all that matters. So black oud, anyone wanting to introduce themselves to the note of oud and rose, I highly recommend this. It's beast mode. It's masculine, but definitely, I would love a woman to wear this, but I probably would like a woman to wear a lot of the scents that I like. Black Oud by Montale. that's all from me today. I will catch you next time. See you later.